Hello everyone, welcome to my life. I'm coming back on live on Instagram after a very long time. So it's going to be fun. I'm here to answer your questions. I'm going to try and answer as many questions as possible. If there's something that I don't know, I will go check and then get back to you via DMs. I will take a note of your name and then we'll send you a message. Hi Bhomik, hi Vana. I think that's Vandana, right? And everybody else that's joining in. Why there is a pause in draws? Which draws? What kind of draws are you talking about? There's so many different draws that happen. So let's be specific in our questions. Hi Sanchit, how are you? Hi Preet. Hi Ishita. All right. I'm good, Ruman. Is there going to be more CEC draws? I hope so. I hope there will be more CEC draws. But you know what? It also logically makes sense for IRCC to do CEC draws because they don't want people from outside Canada right now, right? And we just have so many temporary residents in Canada that it only makes sense for IRCC to continue doing CEC draws so that people who are already in Canada can get their PRs. Yeah, I think they will continue doing the CEC draws. The only thing we don't know yet is whether they will continue CEC draws for the rest of this year or not. Because usually what happens is towards the end of the year, the draws kind of slow down. So we don't know if that's going to happen. But I think for some time we'll continue seeing CEC draws. But again, that's speculation. IRCC has not really announced anything particularly about doing only CEC draws. Okay. How to renew USA passport inside Canada? From your consulate? Maybe. We can check that. I wouldn't know right off the bat, but it should be possible. You can renew every country's passport from Canada, from the consulate. So you should be able to get it done from the consulate, the US consulate. Help me get my boyfriend from Jamaica to Canada. I mean, sure, we can help you. If you have a status, you can bring your partner here. Well, we will have to figure out how we can prove the relationship because there's only common law, conjugal relationships or married couples that can sponsor. So a boyfriend has to fall under a common law category or a conjugal partner category. If it does, then yes. And if you have a status in Canada, you can definitely bring your partner here. But again, we can talk about it. Why don't you book a consultation with us and we can look into that. How long will it take to get citizenship after applying for it? Right now, citizenships are moving very quickly. I would say majority of my clients are getting it under 6 months. And I'm saying from submission to the time you've actually get your citizenship certificate. So you do your oath. So it's about 6 months. But again, it's case to case basis. Sometimes if the documents are not complete or the officer has some concerns about, the residency obligation, then they might ask you to come for an interview. But straightforward applications under 6 months. Super fast right now. Hi Hussein, Abid, Sayed, CEC draws, I mean. So I did answer your question. Nikhil, hi ma'am, how are you? I'm good, Nikhil, how are you? Let's see. Any chance of healthcare draw? Yes, it's been a very long time since we've not had a healthcare draw. So there are two kinds of draws that we're expecting right now under the federal category, the STEM and the healthcare draw. Both have not happened for a very long time. And also the transport draw. That could happen any time. Could also be this week. Which all categories can I apply after November 1st for study permit extension? Which all categories can apply after November 1st for study permit extension? I don't think I understand that question very well, but if I'm understanding it correctly and correct me if I'm wrong, did you mean that which programs can we apply after November 1st for study permit extension? So if that's your question, then my answer is, see, there's a lot of, like there's not much clarity in the recent announcements that IRCC made. November 1st, the date was only out for PGWP eligibility. I mean, students who were applying for PGWPs had to prove their language ability after November 1st. They did not specify a date for all the other updates that they had announced. They said that come fall, the changes will be announced. Now, we don't know when they will be implemented, whether it's only for new students who will be coming next year, or it will be for existing students as well, which I don't think so they will do. That's not fair. Another thing that's unclear is, because there's a lot of information coming from colleges as well, that if students apply for the Jan intake before November 1st, then the new changes will not affect them. But again, IRCC has not announced anything like that. So I don't know if I want to believe colleges just now, because they're losing business basically. They're not going to get enrollments until January if IRCC is not going to make announcements. So I don't think so I want to rush into that or commenting on that. We'll have to wait until IRCC really announces that. But my understanding is that people who are already here should not get affected or impacted by those changes. It's only going to be for new study permit holders. That's what we've seen in the past as well. Unskilled labor demand in Canada, farmer visa. So unskilled, it's not unskilled. In Canada, it's called low skilled, semi-skilled or low skilled. There's no unskilled labor. So farmer visa, if you have a job offer and you can get an LMIA, then you can come here as like a farm worker. But again, you need a job here, and for that you need an LMIA. The good news is that all the changes we are hearing about LMIs right now do not impact the agriculture stream. So it does not impact the farm owners that bring people as farm workers. It does not impact them. So I think those applications will still continue. Do I still have a chance to be a permanent resident after the new news that Mark Miller is reducing the number of PRs from next year? Well, they're reducing the number of PRs. They're not going to completely stop the intake of PRs. So if you, and I don't know your profile, right? So it's sort of an incomplete question, just like thrown at me. But if you think that you have a good score in language, you have a bachelor's back home, you have experience back home, or you can get an LMI in Canada, or you can work on your French, then or you're working in a high demand occupation, then definitely you will have a chance to get your PR next year. We all also have to keep in mind that it's election time in Canada, and all the changes we are hearing right now is because the current government wants to get the public support, right? We all know that Canadians are angry. They're not happy about how things have escalated and to the point that they've escalated. And now the government is worried that if they do not fix things at this point and they don't make Canadians happy, then they're not going to get the votes next year. So all of the changes that we're hearing and seeing right now, and the sudden aggression from the government, is all because of elections. We will see things settling down post-elections next year. But yes, up until then, it does look like that things are going to continue staying rough. What is the timeline for receiving work permit? Anywhere between 4 to 5 months, Vandana. Is French proficiency draws going to happen until 2026? At least till 2025, yes, they will happen. And with the way the government has, changed the programs, and they've introduced the French stream, and then they're introducing other programs as well, like the Francophone program for students, and then even in the RNIP, they've introduced French communities. So yes, definitely we will see, at least for all of 2025, we'll see the draws happening. Caregiver certified, any possible pathway PNP. So when you say caregiver certified, that means like you have experience as a caregiver. And when you say a caregiver, is it a child caregiver or is it an elderly caregiver? Either way, there are programs. Now, if you are a PSW, which is a personal support worker, which is a tier 3 position, you could even go through Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. If you are a home childcare provider, or you are a home elderly care provider, then you have to go through the home support program. The new program will be launched in January of next year, most likely. It probably is. We are going to know the eligibility of that program, hopefully in October or November, but the program usually opens every year in January. So we're hoping that it's going to open again in January of this year. Which all courses come under IRCC so that we can apply for study permit extension? So I don't know when you are applying for your study permit extension and when you're starting the new term, but IRCC has not announced any such list of which programs will be eligible. But like I said before as well, and I think I was answering your question only, I don't think so existing students will be impacted by this change. It's only going to be for new students. But again, there's no harm in waiting it out and waiting for the government to make the announcements. Any chance of CEC this week? Well, I mean, there's always a chance because IRCC never really announces anything. They've been doing draws pretty regularly, except for one-off odd cases, weeks here or there, but mostly they've been pretty consistent with the draw, so we can hope for a CEC draw. Greenhouse worker job in Canada with no experience. Yes, you can. Greenhouse workers don't necessarily need job experiences, but again, you need a job offer, you need an employer. If you go on Job Bank, you can see which all employers. So if you search a greenhouse worker, you'll see under the and you'll see all the ads that are running. So you'll see the employers. Job Bank lists clearly which all employers have previously applied for an LMIA. And that way you can apply to that position, or you can directly reach out to that employer and maybe, you can be hired for the job. What about visit visa, please? What about visit visa? Ask the question. So visit visas are still processing, but what is your specific question? Hi Shafoli, assuming I had a job offer but lost it before entering the pool, can I still use the job offer letter for EE? Now, just having a job offer letter, you don't really need it for express entry. If it is an a LMI supported job offer, then yes, you can use it. But again, if you lost the job, then you cannot use it because you don't have that job. But if it's just a job offer and it's not LMI supported, then you don't really need it. You're not going to get any additional points. For express entry, you don't necessarily need a job offer. Next CEC draw. It could be this week, it could be next week. Hello Shafoli, is it mandatory to submit salary certificate for foreign work experience, or only reference letter is enough? See, you can submit your application with just the reference letter, but it's always a good idea to submit a comprehensive application. It is your responsibility as the applicant to ensure that you have you've convinced the officer of your eligibility and the genuineness of the documents you're submitting. So if I was you, I would submit proof of salary as well. You could do, if you were paid in cash, you could do cash vouchers, you could do a salary certificate. If you were getting paid in your account, then you could do bank account statements, you could do a form, tax documents from back home. So you can, but I would highly recommend attaching additional documents because that just increases the authenticity of the employment, and there are no delays in your application. So try and make a comprehensive application. That's what I would recommend. I have a question on express entry. Does apprenticeship experience of 1 year in a PSU in India counts as foreign experience for express entry application? Yes, it does. As long as it was paid experience, you can definitely use it for foreign experience under express entry. How can I message you and how much will it cost to get my boyfriend over here? So, the costs we can discuss once we've talked about it, once I've assessed your eligibility, once I know under what program we can bring your boyfriend here. So why don't you send us a DM on Instagram, and then my team will reach out to you and we can set up a time for you to maybe connect with me over a call, or you could come and visit me at my office if you live in GTA. Kuljit, when is the next CEC draws? Unfortunately, Mark Miller doesn't send me private messages telling me when the CEC draw is, but I'm hoping and fingers crossed that the draw happens either this week or next week. Kuljit, now you have to ask a different question, okay? Don't ask the same question again. What is the processing time for visitor extension? I've applied, 113 days completed. Oh, it doesn't usually take that long. Majority of our applications do get approved within a month, max 2 months. 113 days is a lot of time. So I would definitely recommend you to order GCMS notes on your application to see where the application is stuck. This was for Mohammed Tef 333. Caregiver certified and work outside Canada, Nadia. So I did say that work outside Canada counts. That's fine. So you now, if you are looking to apply, again, my question is not answered. Are you talking about a personal support worker working in a long-term care home, or you're talking about a caregiver caregiving in the client's home, whether it's elderly or whether it's childcare? You need to answer that question. But yes, regardless, there are PNP options available. And then there's the federal stream as well under the caregiver pilot. But again, we don't know what exact caregiver are you talking about. Kuljit, I am in visitor record and I got invitation. Can I apply bridging open work permit? You were just now asking for CC draws, Kuljit. But yeah, no, you cannot apply for bridging open work permit, because for bridging open work permits eligibility, you either need to have a valid work permit, or you need to have, you must be under implied status of a work permit. So you should have submitted an application to extend your work permit, or your current work permit, if it's expired, then you should be under a restorable status. So if you've converted your status to a visitor, you're no longer eligible for a bridging open work permit. Is immigration minister not conducting CC draws or skipping draw week purposely to keep CRS score higher? Sohail Pathan, I don't think so. I don't think so. They put so much thought into it. Wish they did. We wouldn't be in this problem today that we are in. But having said that, no, it's not because they want to keep scores higher. It's more so to manage the inventory. They only can make so many people permanent residents in a year, right? They have an allocation limit. They have a quota of every year how many people will become permanent residents through express entry. So when they're nearing that allocation limit or quota, they try and slow down the draws so that they can stick to the targets that they're committed to for the year. So that's the reason sometimes we see slower draws, or they're trying to figure out how else to control immigration. That's why it's slowed down. But I don't think so. Their intention is to keep the CRS scores higher, because the fun fact here is they don't even choose the CRS score. I don't know how many of you know, there is no minister or immigration officer who's looking at CRS scores and saying, okay, this is going to be the cutoff. It's not, it doesn't work like that. It's an algorithm that runs in the background that picks the. So what usually they do is they just input how many invitations will be sent out based on how many people they want to invite in that particular draw. And then an algorithm runs in the background. And let's say they want to invite 3,500 people. The algorithm runs and then it stops at the 3,500th person. Whatever the score of that person is becomes the cutoff, and the date and time that person submitted the profile becomes the tiebreaker. That's how it works. Nobody actually decides that this will be the cutoff. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Hi, DKLINUX. Hi. I wonder always, how do you guys use these usernames? Like, how? Like, what is the strategy behind these? Is there a difference between applying into Canada and outside of Canada? Yes, absolutely. There's a big difference between applying inside Canada and outside Canada. Inside Canada is when you're already here and then you make an application depending on whichever program you're eligible for. But when you're outside Canada, then, and the major difference is the kind of form that's submitted. For example, let's say you're submitting a work permit application inside Canada, then you submit an application 5710. When you're outside Canada, then the application form number changes to 1295. That's the difference, big difference. So the IRCC decides by the form that you submit whether you're submitting an application inside Canada or outside Canada. What are the chances of Ontario helping in providing work permit support letters? So, I've reached out to an OINP office for a few of my clients, and they've categorically said that they're not providing any such letters at this point. If they do come to an agreement with IRCC or they sign an agreement, then they will announce it on their program updates page. But as of right now, it did not seem like that they were going to sign anything. Neither is Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia also, I reached out for some of my clients, and they've given it in writing that they do not intend to sign or support any such work permit support letters for people at this current moment. I'm on visitor record. I answered this question, Kuljit. When can we expect transport draw? So hard to say. I wouldn't want to comment on something that I'm not sure of, because that just, spreads like a rumor, and it negatively impacts a lot of people. And I don't want to say anything that I'm not sure of. I applied for spouse sponsorship, and my wife received the eligible sponsorship email. Beside, I did the biometric, fingerprint, and the medical examination. So my question is, what should I expect next? Now, if you're the principal applicant, so you're the one who's being sponsored, then you should get a pre-arrival letter. So that's the next step. And then directly after that, you should get, if there's no complication in your application, you should directly get a passport request if you're outside Canada, and a portal request if you're inside Canada. Okay. And the period of time, by the way, I'm applying from outside Canada. Okay, that helps. So right now, spousal sponsorships are a bit delayed. I would say give or take 8 months to 12 months for spousal sponsorships. It's delayed. I've seen applications getting processed in 3 months as well, but lately they're pretty delayed. I've noticed this very interesting thing with IRCC, that they keep moving their resources. Not that IRCC has a lot of officers. They have a limited number of officers, and they keep moving their resources from application to application, program to program. And as a result, we see that sometimes one category of application starts processing super fast, and then the other one slows down, and then the other one picks up, and then the third category slows down. So right now, express entries are super fast, 3 to 6 months. People are getting their PR. I've seen this speed for spousal sponsorships as well. I also think that the PNP applications that are non-express entry are also getting processed comparatively sooner now. I mean, they used to take good 18 months in the past, but lately, I think 8 to 9 months, and people are getting their PR under that. Admire Imran. Hi, Shafoli. Hi, Imran. When do you expect next draw for CEC healthcare? Expectations, I don't know, but I'm hoping that we should get one within the next 1 or 2 weeks. If we have a full-time contract job, can we claim that experience towards EE? Yes, contract jobs work as long as it's paid, as long as you're meeting your hours, as long as it's on an eligible work permit. It's not on your study permit. It counts towards Canadian experience. Any butcher PNP for +2 students in India. So the only program right now that I know for butchers is the agri-food pilot. But then for that, you either need a job offer, and then you also need an experience in Canada. And then the other job and the other program is the federal program under the agriculture stream. But again, if you only completed +2, are you in Gaurav Kohli? Are you inside Canada? I think you are. If you're inside Canada, then yes, under the federal stream of agriculture, there is a possibility. But again, the draws are not happening, right? And then there's the agri-food pilot. But then under the agri-food pilot, there's restrictions. You need to have the 1 year experience, and that experience cannot be on your open work permit. It can only be on employer-specific work permit. So that means obtained via getting an LMIA, or your work permit must be a vulnerable open work permit. Only those 2 work permits are allowed. Otherwise, butchers don't have much option. Do you think STEM draw will happen? Yes, I think all these draws should happen. But when they're going to happen is a question, right? I don't know when they're going to happen. And I know it's frustrating for you. But you guys also have to understand, as immigration consultants, we also have we don't get any information in advance from the government. We also know what you guys hear when you hear from IRCC. So, and IRCC never announces what draws they'll be doing. They never announce that. In fact, it's so funny. I remember I was at the National Citizenship and Immigration Conference in Halifax in May, and we had the Director of Public Policy, and he was there, and he was talking about, you know, how IRCC is planning to do draws and everything. And we asked him, when is the draw going to happen? And he didn't have an answer to it. And a week later, we got the draw. So, you know, IRCC is very secretive. They don't share any information. Everything is just suddenly announced, and we hear it, or we get that information just at the same time as you guys do. When do you expect next healthcare draw? Next week. What is the processing time for closed work permit? Inside Canada, I would say about 4 to 5 months, easy. Please, what's the expected delay for EE processing? I would say right now, all express entry applications are getting processed under 6 months. Elderly caregiver. Okay, so elderly caregiver, then if you work in a long-term care home and you can get experience as a PSW, you do stand a chance under federal express entry under the healthcare or the OINP healthcare. And if you care for the elderly in the house, then you fall under a tier 4 occupation and you go through the home support caregiver program. Thank you for answering my previous question on apprenticeship, but if I don't have any salary slips or tax documents and just the bank statements will be good enough? Yes, bank statements will be absolutely good enough. I think even better than having salary slips, because that means the money was actually deposited into your account. While submitting the documents for CEC after receiving ITA medical exam, if I have current medication on epilepsy, does the medical get affected, or does the PR application is affected? No, epilepsy wouldn't affect, as long as, so this is how it works, you know. IRCC, once you've done your medical exams, and the IRCC officer assesses your the IRCC officer assesses your medical reports, they will say that, they will assess how much will it cost to the Canadian government if you have to be treated on public, like the public health, right? So there is a threshold that you have to meet, and I don't think epilepsy medications will be beyond that threshold, so you will not have a problem, Ishita. That's fine. What is the processing time for federal PR with PEI PNP? Like I said earlier as well, about 8 months to 12 months, under 12 months actually, I would say. Is Butcher PNP good to get PR? I have done +2 in India, completed my 2-year course here. It really depends on express entry. It depends on your score, right? But they're not even doing that many draws for Butcher. So I would rather say, and again, Butcher is not a priority occupation. Which province are you talking about? I don't think any provinces right now, majority provinces have paused their draws currently. And the only 2 provinces that you can still consider going to is Manitoba and Saskatchewan. They're still doing the draws, but the scores are very high. Nova Scotia is not accepting applications. New Brunswick is not accepting applications. Ontario does draws under the international student stream, but the scores are so high. If you're not under a targeted draw, then in general draw the scores are high. It's not going to be that easy, to be honest, you know. But again, there's no harm in trying. But just the fact that you're a butcher is not going to make your life easy. Yes, if you were working in construction, trades, healthcare, then yes, the chances were high. But butcher is not like a high priority occupation. Do we have to apply for extension of study permit before November 1st? You don't have to, but if your documents are ready, then you can. I know if you're asking this in context to the changes that are coming, there's nothing set in stone by the government that changes are coming on November 1st, except PGWP applications. There's no other changes that government said that will come on November 1st. Now, I think we can wait for the announcement from the government. If we have more update from them, then we can decide to submit before. November 1st, but I don't know why everybody is talking about November 1st, because IRCC did not say that November 1st is the deadline. What are the chances of Ontario helping in providing work permit support letter for work permit extension? Can't say for sure. It looks like low chances right now, because we have to understand that Ontario doesn't need to protect people, right? Because Ontario is getting its PNP numbers in place. Ontario has enough people to give out PNPs too. It's not that they're struggling in filling up their allocation limits. So I don't really see them doing the work permit support letters. But again, you never know, you know. You never know. As of right now, they're not doing anything. Any prediction that CEC cutoff will come to 501 as my score is 501? Yes, but I don't think so. The next draw will be 501. I think the next draw should be somewhere around 506, maybe. 501 will probably take a couple more draws, unless they do a big draw. Hi Shafoli, I hope you're doing well. My question is to you. I live over here in England and I am here on work visa right now, which is tier 2 visa. Okay. But what's the question? Maybe you're typing. Do you think OINP could be a good option for PR? OINP is an amazing option for PR, but you have to be eligible. They have multiple programs, but you have to be eligible. Can we expect STEM draws? If so, what would probably be the cutoff? The cutoffs are going to be high unless they do a big draw, probably in the higher 580s or the lower 490s. Yeah, because it's been a while since they do a STEM draw, right? I applied for spousal sponsorship. They said IRCC sent. They said that IRCC sent the. So for the spousal sponsorship, you should get a passport request. Processing is different when you apply from inside or outside Canada. Processing time for applications inside Canada for work permit is much slower. Inside Canada, work permit applications are taking 4 to 5 months. Outside Canada, about 2 months. What is the waiting time for receiving COPR, and are they backlogged on files? Yes. IRCC has over 1 million applications in backlog. And for COPR, this is Varshil. So I'm assuming this is my client Varshil. I'm assuming if you've already submitted your application for PR, then your PR should be processed within 5 to 6 months if there are no complications in it. If there are complications, then I can't say. But no complications, 4 to 6 months. And then after that, COPR takes another month. You know, you get the portal, you reply to them, they reply back with the portal access, and then you do the COPR. It takes some time, but another month, I would say. What is the processing time for closed work permit? If you're inside Canada, about 4 to 6 months. Can I claim points prior to 1 month of completion of Canadian experience? Yes, you can. You can, and yeah, it's never been a problem. I've submitted applications for my clients many times. It's never been a problem. I mean, of course, you have to explain everything in your application, but it's not a problem. For medical examination after receiving ITA, if I have current medication for, does the medical get affected? Ishita, I did answer your questions. No, I don't think so. Your epilepsy will be affected. I mean, no, you're not your epilepsy. Your PR will not be affected. Do you think STEM draw? I answered that. Yes, I do think they should do at least one this year. They said in the eligibles one that my file sent to visa office in the country that I live in. That's what I'm the sponsorship guy, man. Yes, so that's fine. That happens all the time. Once the sponsor is approved and they found out that the sponsor is eligible, then the application for outside Canada is sent to the local visa office for further processing. Raghav Nair, keep doing the great work that you always do. Thank you so much, Raghav. Hi, Shafoli. I hope you're doing well. My question to you is, I have Razi Ahmed. For some reason, Razi, you keep hitting send before you complete your question. So why don't you type your question probably in our DMs and we'll be able to answer that better. Hi, Shafoli, ma'am. Will there be another category-based draw? Should be. Jafar? Should be. They should do CEC draws. I've been living here in UK for a while now. I'm on a sponsored visa. I work in IT fraternity. I just want to apply for Canadian PR. Yes, sir, Razi Ahmed, you can apply for Canadian PR. Now, when I say Canadian PR, I mean is that you can create your Express Entry profile IT is in high demand in Canada, and there is a chance that you will get an invitation either through the OINP, which is the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, or the federal stream as well. We haven't had a tech draw in a very long time, but it is expected that that draw will happen soon, hopefully, fingers crossed. Okay. So what is the processing time for OINP approval? Anywhere for 3 to 4 months for OINP approval. Now, if there's an issue in your application, it could even take longer. Or if they're investigating something, then it could take longer. But on an average, 3 to 4 months for straightforward, beautiful applications. Thank you for replying, ma'am. Thank you very much for joining my live, Preet. How much time they're taking to approve OINP application inside Canada CEC experience, ma'am? I did answer 3 to 4 months if there's no complication in the application. Do you guys help with spouse open work permit? Yes, absolutely. What is the current wait times on SOWP tied to study permit extension as the primary applicant? Ishant, inside Canada. Ishant, if you're asking inside Canada, then it's considered as a normal work permit application, 3 to 4 months. 4 months, yeah, I would say. Could you please provide me with information, the process and time frame for applying for permanent residency based on my parents' application? Oh, you mean you want to apply PR for your parents? Is that what you mean? If that's what you mean, then if you're still waiting to enter the expression of interest pool, then you can't apply right now. You have to wait until the expression of interest program opens, and then you submit an expression of interest. If you get invited, that's when you submit your application for parents' PR. Thank you for answering my previous question on apprenticeship experience. I did answer that question. Bank statements are amazing. Express entry, family connection stream. Which program? How much time they're taking to approve OINP application? I did answer that question. Can I claim points? I answered that question as well. I answered that. How am I getting all the same questions again? IT, Razi Ahmed, you can apply. You can at least create your express entry profile. Can I get LMI A letter under skilled trade worker in GTA? If yes, how long it is going to take to get approved? Yes, you can get a letter for LMI skilled, you can get an LMI for skilled trades. There are a lot of restrictions right now on LMI applications. So you'll have to see if your the knock code and the wages and the employer and the region and all of that is eligible. If it is, you proceed with the LMIA. LMIs right now take anywhere between 4 to 6 months. But you know what? In the last 3 or 4 days, I've noticed since this announcement was made, since September 26th, I've seen that LMIs have started processing faster. So I've actually started getting response on a lot of my LMI applications that were submitted back in, let's say, March, April, May. We're getting updates. So it looks like they're going to start processing LMIs faster. But as of right now, new applications will... There are several restrictions on it. So again, it's a good idea, Nadeem, to contact me. We can assess your situation. I can tell you if you're eligible for an LMI. And then if you've submitted your LMI, I would say anywhere between 3 to 6 months to get your LMI approved. Is there any difference on processing time when you apply for express entry from inside or outside Canada? I'm going to be honest with you, okay? I haven't done an outside Canada express entry in a very long time because they're not inviting people from outside Canada. Majority, I would say 99% of my express entry applications are inside Canada. So I don't want to comment whether the timeline is the same or not, but on an average, I would say an express entry application is meant to be processed under 6 months. Whether it's inside or outside, that's what the mandate of the program is, that has to be processed under 6 months. So I would say it should be under 6 months. And inside Canada, it's 3 to 6 months as it is. PR support LMI can only be given by my current employer or any employer. Can be given by any employer. But always keep in mind that I like to play safe. So I would say you should have experience in the knock code that you're getting an LMI for, not for the purpose of getting the LMI approved. LMI can be approved, doesn't matter. For you to prove that this is a genuine job offer for you. So I would always recommend, don't do that. You're working as a bookkeeper and then you go and get a food service supervisor LMI. And you have absolutely no experience working in the food industry. That's a big red flag for the officer. Keep in mind that officers are human beings as well, and they look out for red flags in applications. It is your responsibility to make sure that there are no red flags in the applications. Now we have 15 more minutes. I'm going to just stay for another 15 minutes. If you guys have more questions, go for it, shoot them. Don't ask repeat questions, but if you have any other questions, ask. My field also can give me PR support LMI. So that's amazing. If your employer can give you an LMI, get an LMI in your own field. That's better. How do we get early appointment of T. Shafoli Kapur. Shivam Patel. I know. I'm sorry to everyone who's been trying to get appointments in the office and you're not getting appointments. It's just that we have, just like IRCC, we have backlog of applications as well. We're trying to move as quickly as possible with our applications. You know, like in this office, we have a process that we follow, and I like to be fully involved in the submission of applications. I go through applications in detail myself as well, although my team helps me in preparing them, but every application I prefer to submit after reviewing myself. So that is why my commitment to my existing clients is a little bit more higher than new clients that I'd like. I mean, I'd love to take on new clients, but I also want to make sure that I am giving I'm doing justice to clients who are already my clients, like people who are already my clients. So I'm trying to get through all of my applications, submitting them. That's why the appointments are delayed. But I promise things are going to get better in the second half of October. Yeah, I got the approval from my team. We will have more appointments available after October 15th, hopefully. Yeah. What is the criteria for French eligibility stream? So there are two programs right now for French eligibility. One is under Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, which is the French speaker express entry stream. For that, you need to have a proficiency in French, CLB 7, and you also need English proficiency, CLB 5. In addition to that, you need to have a bachelor's degree, and you also need to have an express entry profile. So that's under the OINP stream. Then we have the federal French speaker stream. In that, the criteria is only to have a French proficiency of CLB 7. So if these are two programs that one can apply under if they have French proficiency. And then we also have the RNIP, the Rural Northern Immigration Program, which will also launch very soon. That program will also have a specific component just for French. So look out for that program as well. Again, I don't know, Miraj, where are you? If you're inside Canada, then probably, you should look out for that option, because otherwise the Rural Northern Immigration Pilot requires job offers. And people who are outside Canada, I feel personally, it's a bit hard for them to secure those job offers. Any idea about Alberta EOI? There's one option in the end saying, I'm interested in the following pathway: express entry, family connection stream. Yes. So Alberta has this specific program under express entry where you, if you have an express entry profile and you mention in your profile where it says that you have an employer, you have a sibling who's a PR who's living in Ontario, or uncle, aunt, cousin, or somebody living in Alberta. I'm sorry, I live in Ontario, so Ontario just automatically comes out of my mouth, but I mean Alberta. Then you can select that in your express entry profile. And then also, if you have a job offer from Alberta, you can select that. So when Alberta does their express entry draws, they give you priority to apply. They give you a priority, and you get an invitation to apply under the Alberta's express entry stream. Now, if they're asking that option under the EOI for Alberta, and if you have an express entry profile created and you have siblings or relatives in Alberta, then you say yes to it, and make sure that your express entry profile is also updated properly. Okay. I'm just going to pass the questions that I've already answered, because I'm getting the same questions again and again. So I'm just going to answer new questions, okay? My work permit expiring in mid-November. Is it still possible to apply for dual intent high wage LMI inside GTA? Yes, you can still apply for a high wage LMI inside GTA. This is Timil Sina Rahul. And yes, you can still apply. We're in October. So if you start your advertisements now, you have to advertise for 28 days. So 30 days. And then once you've submitted your LMI application, right after that, you'd have almost 2 weeks left on your work permit. You can submit a work permit extension called as concurrent work permit, which means that because you have an LMI application in process, you're submitting you're submitting a work permit based on the LMI application, and that application is put on hold by the visa officer. The instruction says for a minimum of 60 days, but the current processing time of work permits is about 4 months. So if your LMI gets processed in those 4 months, then you can send your confirmation, like the approval letter for LMI to the visa officer via web form, and they'll approve your work permit. If by chance your LMI is not approved in those 4 to 5 months and the visa officer picks up your application for work permit and your LMI is not approved at that time, they will refuse your work permit application. And if that work permit application is refused, then you will have two options. The first option is to wait for 90 days, wait for your LMI to get approved. Once your LMI is approved, then you can submit a restoration of work permit application. If your work permit is not approved, LMI is not approved in those 90 days, then you submit an application to restore your status as a visitor. And then once the LMI comes through, then you submit a new work permit application, now outside Canada. Do not do an inside Canada extension because they stopped that policy for visitor to worker conversion. So that application has to go outside Canada. So make sure that you follow all the steps appropriately and you'll be okay. I was wondering, if I submitted an HNC application, can I still do a French test and go for the draw, since HNC was my only choice, but it's taking too long to get an answer. So 246 Deep, this answer is for you. You can go through express entry only and only if your current status in Canada is legal. So if you have a valid work permit and all of that experience that you gained inside Canada, because you do need experience as well, right? Whether it's outside Canada or inside Canada, then you can go ahead and apply. Because usually what happens is with HNC, if you submit, and your work permit expires, you don't have an option to extend your work permit unless you are approved in principle for your HNC application. So I'm assuming you're asking me this question because you've not even received the approval in principle. So I don't know what your status is. If you're out of status, you can't apply for express entry. But if you're in status, then yes, go ahead, do it. Not a problem. Can we expect to get agriculture food category based draw soon? I mean, hopefully you should. How do I get through work visas if I'm applying from my home country, India? So if you, in most cases, people need LMIAs to get work permits in Canada. Again, I don't know your background. I don't know what your experience is like, what your education is like. But if I'm assuming, a very generic scenario, you will require an LMI. So if you have an employer here who can give you an LMI, you can apply for a work permit. But keep in mind, IRCC doesn't really want too many people coming from outside Canada right now. They don't want temporary residents because there are just so many in Canada. So if you can wait for some time, I think waiting is a good idea because things are really rough here. My friend is on a visitor record. She got dual intent LMI and claimed 50 points. She submitted LMI based work permit application, but it got rejected. Can she apply for bridging open work permit once she gets invited? No, Kuljit. I just told you, if she is on visitor record, she cannot apply for a bridging open work permit. Hi, ma'am. What about PCC validity? What is the best way to bring a dependent to Canada after marriage? Santosh Raidu. Did you get married, Santosh? Where is our mithai ka dabba? Anyways, spousal sponsorship. Best way, once you've submitted your spousal sponsorship, then you can do a visitor visa for your spouse. Munib Uzam. I want to answer your question. What about PCC validity? I think I know the question, what you mean. PCC is valid for at least 6 months if you're living in the country from where the PCC is from. If the PCC is from a country that you no longer live in, then it can remain valid as long as you have not returned to that country and that PCC was issued after you left that country, after staying there for 6 months at a stretch. So for example, let's say you're from India and you came to India in 2019 and you got your PCC in 2020. So that is after you left India. and now you're in Canada and you haven't gone back to India since 2020, since the PCC was issued, then your PCC is valid even today. You can submit it with your PR application. So we applied for my brother in parents and grandparents sponsorship program as he was studying at the time, but now he's done with his studies, so he has to apply for work permit. What better can we do? So we applied for brother and parents grandparents sponsorship program. You mean PR? And he was a dependent at that time of the parents because he was under 22. And he was studying at that time in Canada. I'm assuming, okay? So I'm filling in the blanks. By the way, you know, this is what the visa officers do as well. When you guys don't, when you don't give complete information, then they fill in the blanks themselves based on their knowledge and mood. And then the results come based on that. But coming back, so he was studying at that time, assuming inside Canada. But now he's done with his study and he has to apply for a work permit. So you mean a postgraduate work permit. He can apply for his postgraduate work permit. No problem at all. Not sure if you saw my question. Applied for HNC. I did answer. Is there a lag in getting answers?
We post twice or thrice.
Okay, so I did answer that question. What is the best way to bring my dependent to Canada after? I answered that. PR and then visitor visa. Came to Canada after 12th 2-year diploma in Canada. Dose superior position. In Canada. Dose superior position. What is dose superior position? Is it does supervisor position? But supervisor where? Depends. You're a construction supervisor? You're a sheet metal worker supervisor? Depends. What's food service supervisor? Logistics supervisor? Depends what supervisor, right? So if you can answer that, then I can answer the question. When the lottery happened for express entry from outside Canada? Can't say. Very hard to say. Maybe next year? I am on visitor visa and I'm applying to get an extension to have status here. Yes, you can apply for a visitor extension. No problem. Is Francophone work permit valid outside Canada too, or is it just for inland? No. It can be from outside Canada too. You mean the C16 work permit? Yeah, it can be applied from outside Canada too. If I get into Canada by visitor's visa, is there any chance of LMI from an employer on visitor's visa? Gone are those days. It's going to be hard now. Okay, I just have 3 more minutes. If we non-accompany our spouse and later after PR, can we sponsor them? If so, how long does the process take? Yes, you can. You can do an unaccompanying spouse initially, but do disclose the spouse, give their medicals, PCC, passport, photograph, everything. And then later you can do a sponsorship. So your spouse has to be assessed with you when you're submitting your PR application, but they don't have to become PR at the same time. They can get the PR later. Got my ITA, but my experience is in 3 months in one company, another 1 year in one company, another 6 months. Yes, Surya Yandamuri. Yes, it's eligible. Hey, Shafoli, is the parents and grandparents PR program changing if the government changes? You know what? I think, if you ask me, the parent-grandparent program should change. It shouldn't be a lottery system. In my opinion, it should be a point-based system. So, and parents should be granted points as well, just like how express entry works. But I'm not the immigration minister yet. So when I become the immigration minister, one day, inshallah, then I will tell you what the parent-grandparent program is going to look like. But as of right now, I don't know if they're going to bring any changes. They're not talking about the parent-grandparent program right now. All they're talking about, both parties are talking about temporary residence and immigration in general. Nobody's really talking about the parents-grandparent program. So anything I say is going to be my perception of things, which probably can be misconstrued as well. So I would rather refrain from saying anything. But I personally feel that it should be a point-based system because it's unfair to do a lottery. Which is the best province to move, or which is better job to do as a student for PR? Anything in high demand occupations like construction, trades, healthcare, STEM. These are as of right. Alberta, I think the oil industry is going to come up in the next biotechnology. We're going to see occupations in that. We're going to see the oil industry, the mining industry. We're going to see those knock codes now again in the next set of occupation-based draws. Possibility of so I do hope that we, before this year ends, we get a transport draw, a healthcare draw, a tech draw, and the agriculture draw. I think these are the 4 draws that have been pending, hopefully. Is the same requirements if I get CLB5 in French speaking and listening? Is it the same requirements if I get CLB5 for the work permit? Yes, CLB5 is okay, but not for CLB5 is okay for French. For the work permit, the C16 work permit, but not for PR. For PR, you need CLB7 in French. For French stream. Even if we non-accompanying them, we require PCC of, yes, you still need PCC of spouse, even if the spouse is unaccompanying. Oh, by the way, we also have a giveaway running right now. All those people who have joined the live, please go and participate in the giveaway. It's, that particular restaurant, it's very close to my heart. It's someone just like you all who came here as a student, is now, a permanent resident or is trying for permanent residence. They've opened the restaurant. It's an amazing restaurant. I've been there. The food is delicious. It's Delhi street food. So you guys are going to get an opportunity to get free food there. So might as well participate in the giveaway. And if you get lucky, you'll, you can go take one of your friends with you, because that's a lot of food that they're giving to eat. So participate in the giveaway. ZK21 Khan, I have 5 years of experience in production engineer and my age is 29, single, so I need to apply for PR from India. So see, your score is going to be low, to be very honest, because you just have a bachelor's degree. Although you have 5 years of experience, you could fall under one of the tech draws, but again, the tech draw scores remain very high. So if yours, not tech draws, STEM draws, but those scores are very high. So if you want to apply, then your IELTS results have to be like, very, very high, 8,777 at least, to even be somewhere close to the cutoffs. Retail floor supervisor in Aritzia, does that, in which province? Are you in Ontario? Then it's going to be hard. All right, it's 5 o'clock. Everybody, thank you so much for joining my live today. It was lovely chatting with you all. I hope I was able to answer everyone's questions. I think I did answer everybody's questions. Thank you for being respectful. Thank you for being patient. Some of you did send questions twice because I don't know, maybe there was a lag in getting the answers. But I really, really enjoyed the live. I'm hoping I can do more of these in the future. But thank you again for joining, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon. And good luck to all of you with your dreams, aspirations, whatever you have, whatever you want to achieve in life. I wish you all good luck. Bye-bye.